Camilla Harris just made a big mistake. I mean, it's ridiculous that they hadn't gone out there and talked to the grieved parents and the kids that died. I mean, six people lost their lives, and because they happened to be Christian, everyone knows why Camilla Harris ain't go out there. If they was transgender that was actually out there that was killed, I bet you Camilla Harris would have been out there. But because they're Christians, she could care less about what happened. It's ridiculous. It's sickening. But this is the Biden administration. We know how they treat us Christians. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. Has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my merch store where I have I Will Not Comply t-shirts. So check those out as well. All right, let's talk about this news. Kamala Harris blasted for not meeting Nashville survivors. The New York Post was among the news outlets that called out Vice President Kamala Harris after she made a surprise visit to Nashville, Tennessee, to meet with two of the volunteer state expelled uh, state lawmakers. I mean, just crazy, right? And and oddly enough, she failed to meet with any survivors or the families of the mass shooting victims that resulted in the political drama. The lawmakers' expulsion came after three legislators joined a gun control rally outside of the state capitol that moved into the House chamber and disrupted the proceedings. Now, if this was if this was a conservative group, best believe they would have been arrested, but because they are leftists, they weren't arrested. It's ridiculous. We all know the two-tier justice system that I talk about all the time. But quote, the protest wasn't January 6, 2021 at the U.S. Capitol, but then again, no lawmaker joined the mob that day, the Big Apple paper noted and added, quote, it was certainly an outrageous bid to intimidate legislatures into doing the protesters' will, a gross violation of democratic norms that no lawmaker should join, let alone lead. And I totally agree with the New York Times on that. Of course, some Democrats see it differently as it was an attempt to push the gun control agenda following a mass shooting. The two expelled lawmakers, along with the third, who also joined the protest but beat expulsion by a single vote, were invited to the White House by President Joe Biden last week. Of course they would be invited to the White House because they're doing the leftist bidding. This is what they want. Again, if this was conservatives, best believe they would have been arrested. But that had led to outrage as the White House has been seen to essentially ignore the families of the victims as well as the two hero police officers who stopped the massacre by being far worse um, when they charged into the building and took down the shooter, Aubrey Hale. And so let's talk about the Gang of Three. Vice President Kamala Harris met with ousted state lawmakers Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson at the chapel of Fisk University, a historically black college in Nashville, over the weekend. The three have since been dubbed the Tennessee Three. Utterly ridiculous. Quote, we are here because uh, their colleagues in the Democratic caucus chose to show courage in the face of extreme tragedy, Harris said, adding, quote, they chose to lead and show outrage and say that a democracy allows for places where the people's voice will be heard and honored and respected. I mean, listen to what she's saying here. I mean, these people are so tone deaf. But Harris, the first woman and the first person of color, so called, to serve as vice president, also used the occasion to call for gun control. They always use these tragedies to call for gun control. Quote, assault weapons are weapons of war, Harris continued. I mean, these are people that don't know anything about guns talking about it, like they know something, like they know what they're talking about. But she goes on to say, quote, these are weapons that are designed to kill a lot of people quickly. They have no place on the streets of civil society. But yet you have guards that carry these weapons. That's okay though. Biden also used the recent tragedy in which six individuals, including three children, were killed by Hale, a former student of the Covenant School where the shooting took place, to push his gun control agenda. Hale, a female at birth who had identified as a male and used pronouns he, him, was being treated for an unspecified emotional disorder. Under Tennessee law, she shouldn't have been allowed to purchase the firearms used in last month's tragic shooting at the school. No mention of that fact was noted by Biden or Kamala Harris. But of course, they wouldn't mention that because it goes against their narrative. And anything that goes against their narrative, they're going to totally ignore. And that's par for the course for leftists in this administration. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out democrepublics.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.